Hey guys, James Wilson Taylor here for Roxanne. It's the latest of our video calls. We've been chatting with everybody while we're all stuck at home at the minute. I'm delighted to say from Enter Shikari, Rou's on the line. How are you, mate?
Hello, sir. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Not too bad. I'll start this off. We've started them off in the same way to say, hope you're still keeping well, keeping safe, and all this madness. One of the first people we chatted to on this video call series, and sadly, not a huge amount has changed in the world. But I hope these last few months haven't been too painful for you. How you been occupying your time?
Um, I've pretty much been heads down living. Well, we're all living quite a solitary lifestyle, probably, but like I've pretty much become a recluse because I've been writing a book. The basically the accompanying bit of literature that goes with the last album, but it because I started it like in spring this year, and I found myself with all this time on my hands, and it really feels like with everything that's happening at the moment, now is the time for like a serious detail. And you can only be so detailed within a 3-minute pop song or whatever, even a 5-minute post rock song. You can only be so detailed with the lyrics. So yeah, I've been knuckling down with this book and really diving in with the concepts that we explore with the album. And that's pretty much it, really. Otherwise, just trying to keep fit, trying to look after my family, and yeah, keep my head down, keep busy.
Yeah, nice to have a bit of a creative outlet there, though. That's really good
Yeah.
timing in a way, not for the rest of the world, but it's nice that you've got something there that you can actually work on from home primarily. It must be nice to actually have a bit of time to do that.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I haven't been able to. I mean, basically, for the whole of this year, I haven't made one bit of music, like not
Wow,
one, which is insane for
that's
me. Normally,
surprising. Yeah.
it's yeah, normally it's like a tap, and I can't switch it off. And yes, this is the first time that's ever happened, and I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure the just the position that we're all in this crazy, unprecedented like position that we're all in, it has something to do with it. But I suppose at least having the book has given me a creative outlet, albeit a completely different one. But yeah, it's given me something to concentrate on and work on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. No, good thing to have. That good thing to have. And then the other thing we should mention, just going to happen. Congratulations, you're back on the cover of Roxanne, of course, one of our class of 2020
Yeah.
Roxanne Awards, which is very exciting. Talk to you about that photo shoot. We were just mentioning it before we got started. It's been so cool seeing what the team have put together with these shoots that take place over FaceTime, right? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, it was. It was like pretty good. It was quite smooth, to be honest. I mean, obviously, it's always lovely to like hang out with you guys, and Corinne, like, has been my friend for years, who took the photos, and she was instilled onto a phone, so her little voice was coming out and sort of directing us as we moved the phone around the apartment that we were in, and sort of took pictures, and she was sort of ordering us around, sit there and do this, so it was it worked. But yeah, it was just odd. It's the future, isn't it? Soon it's just everything's going to be robots, so photographers will be robots, so we're just getting used to it.
Yeah, getting in there early. It's good. Just setting a standard before
I'll
it
be a
becomes
robot,
mandatory.
the musicians will be robots. Yeah.
Robot bands, robot photographers for those bands. It's all coming soon. Well, it's good that we're able to highlight you, as one of our award winners this year, because it has not been the year you were expecting, not the year that anyone was hoping for, of course, but what a landmark achievement with that album, man. I mean, highest chart position in the UK and just gone down so well with the fans. We loved it. How are you kind of reflecting even a few months on now? I guess, especially putting together the lyric book and everything. How are you feeling about how the limited campaign you're able to have, but how do you feel it all went?
A whole ton of mixed emotions, really. Obviously there's just a gaping hole in its like transmission into the world in the way we presented it. We have no idea what it'll sound like live, and I think until you've played the songs live, you don't really feel like you've truly released the art into the world. So it feels sort of kind of a half baked thing at the moment. But I mean, obviously, saying that, we're over the moon with how it went down, as you say, our highest chart position, and I think it instilled in us like a real new dimension of like gratitude for our fan base, our audience, our supporters, because even that we didn't really have the full like package of media attention. We didn't do any of our release shows. We didn't do half the press that we wanted to do because we couldn't get to New York. We couldn't get to, wherever else we were supposed to be going. So there was this real sort of groundswell, this real kind of grassroots campaign, really, just by like people who are into our band, like spreading it around that way. It was word of mouth, DIY, back to like where we came from. And so that was beautiful. That was lovely to see. And then I suppose the other thing is just like the content of the album, like the themes. It's just mad, kind of like tragically ironic, really, that we wrote an album all about essentially existential threats, like threats to humanity as a whole. So, everything from climate change to our increasing nuclear capacities, to antibiotic resistance, all these things that we're having to deal with due to the technological advance of our species. And then one catastrophe that most people were ignoring, unless you were listening to the epidemiologists and virologists, happened literally, weeks before we released the album. So then, as we know, we then had to release it during that first lockdown, and it was just this mad thing. So it's only like now having a bit of distance from it that we've sort of realized like just how weird that was, like releasing an album about what this current socioeconomic system is making more and more likely, through our habitat destruction, through the way we treat wildlife, and through our complete underfunding of healthcare services or the underpreparation. We've seen something like a pandemic happening, and it's something that's gonna happen more and more so if we continue down this path of the business as usual path. So there's all sorts of stuff, I think, lyrically that's continued a thread and has just become more just like, oh god, yeah. We've almost like had a sort of the unique foresight that I think as a band that has criticized the status quo for years, and now to see it all like come to play, like one of the catastrophes that we could have easily avoided, especially when you look at UK and US, like we're the two of the worst like performing countries in this pandemic, and we could have approached it so differently and not had this tragedy that we have. So it's been a weird year.
Hasn't it just, man? Hasn't it just? But it's funny you say that about, because there are obviously direct themes in this record, because you always talk about, the world around you and all these kind of political and socio situations that, they directly reflect, but also on a more kind of ethereal level. It brought to mind, like I did one of these with Simon from Biffy a few months back. And when their record came out, I said to him about the track Space, how weird it is that even though that's just a song about perhaps meeting up with a loved one you've not seen in a long time, suddenly that became really kind of ringing true for a lot of people because they were spread out across the country. And I kind of feel there's a few moments on the record with you as well, particularly something like Satellites. I mean, you've explained already that, that comes from a story about, discussion with a gay friend of yours and being seen in public and things like that. But just that image of people not being able to show love in public and be that close, it's weird how it takes on a different significance, right?
Yeah, it's incredible. And I think that's the beauty of like using art as like a gift. Like you just like put it out into the world and people receive it and then put their own kind of meanings and intentions and motivations all go into that song, and they sort of get out of it something completely different and often something much more beautiful than you even intended, or at least initially. But yeah, with Satellites, that was just an example of how I think we all saw a new meaning in the song, and we were all living, as you say, like that restriction of affection is such an odd thing for us all to have to suddenly change our lives to kind of have. And I suppose if anything, it just made the core meaning about the song in terms of like how there's still so much homophobia in our society, like be it systemically or like in these kind of archaic ways of thinking through bad education or whatever it is, and just how painful it can be to have to restrict your affection, as now we all know from social distancing. So yeah, it's weird how there's all sorts of lyrics here and there that just take on a a whole new meaning. I mean, the first line of the whole album is this a new beginning, or are we close to the end? Like that's how it feels, especially now as we've got the vaccine and everyone's like, we're sort of coming out of a positive. This could be a new beginning, and that's where it gets kind of, it takes on a new meaning again, because we don't want to, everyone's sort of looking forward to going back to normal. And I think like we have to use this as much as possible as like a point to go, okay, we can't go back to normal. This is where normal gets us, by the way. We need a properly funded health service. You know, we have to start demanding these things. And so it can be a new start, a new beginning. So there's all sorts of examples, but it's just fascinating how that happens with, I think, any bit of art, any bit of music, it will evolve in its own way.
Yeah, it's why I was really glad as well that, like, you know, people like yourselves were actually able to still put out the music. I know everyone's in very different situations, so this is no shade in any way to people who weren't able to get it out in time. But I'm glad you guys stuck to the plan, because I think people were able to latch on to this in a very, very positive way. And as we've seen, whether it's through the chart position or even all the stuff you guys have been doing online, whether that's remote performances or like watch parties of old shows and stuff, the fan community's been there and really been looking for that connection in a bigger way, right? Talk to me a bit about just kind of dealing with fans from a distance, I suppose. How's that been for you?
I think that's been the worst part, you know, like some of the best moments and like the real fuel for us as musicians is when you have those just like one-to-one conversations with like someone who's into your music, and they, you know, tell you what this song means to them or how this song helped them in this way. That, you know, when you've been around the world twice in 6 months and you're the most sleep deprived you've ever been, and you're sort of at rock bottom and missing home, and you know, those are the moments that keep you going. Those very pure moments of human connection. Missing that has been very, very difficult. And I think that all sort of goes in as well of just like not really being Rou from Shikari this year. Like this is a part of me that has been central for 15 years or whatever it is. So to take that away, in a way, it's been like we've been given like a glimpse of what the death of our band would be like. Do you know what I mean? Like, so my life is now quite, as I've said, quite solitary. Been writing a book, just been doing things at home, not being able to create as well. So again, there's this kind of guillotine of like, no more music, no more band. So that's been pretty difficult, to be honest. But you know, we've all had immense difficulties, and I consider myself still very lucky to be able to, you know, write a book and have the at least a degree of communication with people online. It'll never replace face-to-face communication, but at least still knowing that people are there and they still care about our band is amazing. And I'm so happy, as you say, that we did release the album on time, because as I think I said in the last interview, like the best metaphor I can think of is music is like a hard hat, and we're all walking around this life, this really intense building site with things falling and being flung at us. Like, it's dangerous, you know. It's like for our mental health, for our physical health with the pandemic, and sometimes music is this thing we retreat to, and it gives us strength, and it re-energizes us and refuels us, and it makes us stronger. And so for us, we had to just continue and make sure the music was out there for anyone that needed it. Just how I was very thankful for my favorite artists that also released their music and sort of gave me the encouragement and the sort of fortifying strength that kept me going.
Yeah, absolutely. Strength and distraction and entertainment, all very, very important things we've all needed this year for sure. And we know that live connection will come back. We still don't know exactly when. I've been throwing around a quote from our last chat, actually, in loads of these where I've been doing, we talk about live shows, because I remember you said you just wanted them in the calendar. Even if they have to be moved again, you needed them in the calendar to know when they were coming back, which I think is a very, very good attitude. We know they're still in the calendar and we're very, very hopeful. How much have you guys thought about what that show will be, or which songs from the new record you want to get on their feet and play live and stuff? Is that still a conversation to be had, or has this kind of started formulating for you yet?
It's still to be had, really. We started getting in a room and actually practicing songs. Well, I think we got about 3 of them under our belt back in February, I think. So like literally just before lockdown. And we kind of haven't really done anything since then. So we're sort of looking as January as like the time of like, right, we will then go into like, once I've bloody finished this book, which has just been arduous, I will then, we'll go into just practice mode, and we'll work out the set, and we'll work out the production, and we'll, you know, if it is looking like it's going to go ahead, which at the moment, you know, there's a real possibility, we'll be heads down from that point onwards.
Yeah, exciting. Well, I mean, you've got the support lined up at least, which is very exciting. We did again one of these with Nova Twins, who were very, very hyped to be hitting the road with you, and Dinosaur Pileup, of course, as well. Great choices. Talk to me about that decision as well, because it's a nice fit, and it's a nice kind of eclectic mix as well. I think even 10 years ago, acts like that, maybe you wouldn't have necessarily toured with. It's kind of a bit of a standard bearer of, this is the kind of music you make. You can have different elements of everywhere, right?
Yeah, I think that's something we've always like really I think prided ourselves on, in terms of like introducing our fans to like different styles of music. You know, we've had DJs, we've had like hardcore metal acts, we've had like pop acts, we've had like drum and bass stuff, all sorts of stuff. And I think it just makes the evening more interesting as well. Like if you're going to see especially heavy, loud music, like if you're watching 4 bands that sound exactly the same, it kind of, you still enjoy them, but like it sort of keeps it all at one level throughout there's like no dynamics to the evening. Whereas I think having these different styles of music, like, and putting them together, it just makes for a better evening's entertainment, in my opinion. So that's what we've always tried to do. And Dinosaur Pileup and Nova Twins. I mean, Pileup we've known for a while, and I've seen them a few times, and just such good tunes, like good sing along, you know, tunes, and can't wait to have them live with us on stage. Like, being able to watch that before we go on every night, it's gonna be amazing. And then Nova Twins, which I mean have just like blown up this year. It's been awesome. I think they've got to be one of the most exciting bands around at the moment. Like they're kind of, I love the way they use their space. Like the songs can be like quite vast, quite minimal, but then also really epic at the same time. And obviously the way they use their guitars, the effects are just awesome. The beats, the energy. So absolutely, you know, cannot wait to see them.
Yeah, when it happens, going to be a big night out, that for sure. Fingers crossed sooner rather than later, for sure. One other thing I have to mention, because this is a nice little highlight in your year, I'm sure, because not every band out there gets to sponsor a football team, do they? That's a very, very cool thing. Get the band name on the front of the football shirt. How did that kind of come about? Who approached who? How did that whole thing come together?
Well, this was like Chris's project, really. So Chris, our bassist, he's the football guy. He's been big on football, you know, since I've known him. I used to love football as a kid, but sort of, I think music just muscles everything out of the way, really, in my life. So the team is managed by like a friend of Chris's, and they just started talking about like what we can do together, because St Albans are a brilliant club, as are many of those like lower league clubs, for really concentrating on the local community, like doing like really good pro-social things, like be that charity work, being that like bringing people together in different ways. And I think that sort of drew even Rory and Rob, who were like, they couldn't be further away from football lovers. That drew them to the club, and now they're like massive fans. Like Rob, oh god, it was hilarious. He commentated on one of the games live on like the local St Albans radio station. Oh, and it was hilarious. Yeah, because he just doesn't really know what's going on. He's just asking the most brilliantly naive questions.
That's great.
So that's just been great. So now we sponsor them. You can get like there's 2 kits now with our name on the front. It's very surreal. And I think it's good. It's just like a new friendship, really. Like there's lots of things I think we've got planned to do together. And sort of hopefully expand in different ways. And they've been, I don't want to say anything, but like I think they're on like a 9-game like winning trot or something at the moment. Like since since
I confess I'm not a big football guy, but I will look that up and clarify it for sure.
No, and to be honest, I'm not sure how many games it is, but it's a big streak. Like, they're doing really well. So yeah, it's exciting.
Hey, the power of Shikari. This is what's done it. Clearly, kicking into gear, man. Kicking into gear. Well, I'll leave you with this then, Rou, which is kind of, I mean, bigger question of what's next, really. But I guess my question for you is, like you say, you've not really been writing much in the way of music this year, which is fair enough. I think it's, it's no mean feat when people have managed to stay creative in that way through this year. It's kind of absolutely fair enough. But you're known as a songwriter for kind of looking outwardly at the world around you, clearly, especially on this last record. I guess my question is, do you think you will be doing more or less of that whenever this next new music comes? Because some of these conversations I've had with people are saying, like, we need to address everything that's gone on. And then some other people have gone the other side of the coin and been like, I want to create a complete distraction with my music next, something that's not remotely about this year that we've all been engulfed in and not been enjoying. How do you feel about that? Do you think you'll be reflecting 2020 more or want to kind of provide more of a distraction?
That's a great question. I really don't know. Yeah, because as I said, just nothing's come out this year.
Sure.
I think, that's the great thing about music as a tool. It does both. It can energize us towards some cause. It can explain something deeper than, if we could go back to like Wagner's aestheticism in the 17th century or whenever it was, and talk about how music can convey truths that no other kind of platform, no other route can do, and music is incredible for that. But at the same time, it can be complete escapism, and it can just bring you comfort in a world that's thoroughly discomforting at the moment and disconcerting. So I think, yeah, it's just great that people have both of those options, and I commend them both. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I think the book will have sort of scratched an itch of like really, getting down into like the politics and the political philosophy and looking at the science of all sorts of, concepts involved within the album. So maybe I would go the other way, but I don't know. It's hard for me, I find it hard to ignore the bigger sort of ideas and they're the things that I seem drawn to wanting to approach musically. But yeah, it's weird. I think just this year, the fact that we've been addressing these sort of issues for so long, and then to see like a catastrophe unfold that you've sort of, we in no way have we predicted it or anything like that, but like we've spoke about the core problems that have made this pandemic so much worse, and to see that happening, you're like, I don't really. I just feel sick. I feel nauseous. Like I don't feel compelled to write anymore. I just feel like I don't know. It's weird. I feel a bit empty at the moment. So I'm not sure when new music will come, but I'm sure there'll be a route out of this kind of no man's land that I'm in at some point. And yeah, I'll be excited about something. But at the moment, it's a derelict, lost field, which I'm sure many people feel like they're in at the moment, just wandering around not knowing what's going on.
I think you're far from alone from that with that, and particularly in the creative industries right now. But here's what you need to do, seeing as if we think you predicted things, just write things about nice things happening. That's all we want. Write a song about the return of live music. Write a song about everyone suddenly getting along in the world. This is what I want from you. We'll make it happen.
Peace and love.
Yeah, exactly. Peace and love. The new album from Ed Shikari. That's what we want. Man, it's always really good to chat to you. And look, primarily on the calendar, regardless of nothing else, there will be live shows. We know it. I mean, I'll be stunned if it's not going to be sooner rather than later at this point. So all the best for that. We look forward to seeing it. And yeah, just in the meantime, take care of yourself, man. We'll catch you soon.
Absolutely. Big up. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you, man. All right, Rou, everybody.